My name is John, and I am a gap consultant here at EF Gap Year. I'm joined by three really incredible alumni, Kate, Foster, and Lilly, who are actually interning with us this summer. And I'll introduce them in just a bit. I myself am actually an alum. I did a gap semester program with EF a couple years back, so I'm super excited to be joined by these great people. So today we're going to be having a discussion with our alumni to just share stories from their own gap experience. We're going to be talking about why they decided to take a gap, where they're at now, and just go through some of their favorite photos and share some memories. But before we do that, I want to give you all some context for our programs. So we offer gap programs for anyone ages 18 to 22. So whether you are looking to take a gap right after high school or in the middle of your college career or even after college, we have really great programs that are designed to help you build those real world cultural skills and make lifelong memories along the way and just return home a better you, just ready to take on whatever could be next. So I'll go through a little bit about the background of EF, who we are, and just why we do what we do with our GAP programs. So to begin today, EF stands for Education First. That is the first question everyone always asks me, so I want to clarify that. We are the world leader in educational travel. We've been doing this for about 60 years now, and in that time, we have helped millions of people. We've helped them travel around the world, seeing new places, helping them experience new cultures along the way, learn new languages, and more importantly, just discover new things about not only the world, but about themselves. We are also an educational partner. We work with thousands of high schools and colleges in the US. So many of you may already know us because we work with your high school or college, or maybe you've traveled with EF Tours, EF Ultimate Break, or EF Explore America in the past. So what's great about our programs is that we're actually what we call globally local. And what that means is that we have over 50,000 EF staff sprinkled in around 114 countries all around the world. So what that means is that we just know what's happening. We kind of have eyes on the ground everywhere we travel because we ourselves live and work in these places. And it also allows us to literally be there for our customers should they need us in ways that many other gap providers just can't. So when it comes to EF Gap Year, our programs are really designed to help our students thrive in today's ever-changing world. And you'll actually be hearing firsthand how our students were impacted by these programs through having the space, the tools, and the experience, and most importantly, the confidence to just take on the world. So before we get into that, I'll be going through a bit about the program itself, how everything is structured, and how it all works. So I'll start here with the three different lengths of our program options. We have the 4-week GAP short-term program, our 10-week option, which is our GAP semester program, as well as the 25-week GAP year program. So I'll talk about each one of those that are happening this year in just a minute. What's great about the GAP year program is that this actually mimics an academic year with departures in the fall. And so you have a fall semester, return home for winter break, and then your spring semester. The GAP semester programs are more individualized with departures in September and January. And the GAP short-term programs, you can kind of plug those in at any point throughout the year. So these are all really great options, and our Gap Year consultants are here for you to help you kind of figure out what the right program is. A lot of times we have students who have done multiple GAP semester programs, or ones who have done multiple short-term programs, or a GAP short-term and a semester. So it's really great that we have these consultants who can work with you to customize your own program. So when talking about all of our gap year programs, I think it's super helpful to understand these 4 basic building blocks of our programs. So these are our modules, and every EF gap program is comprised of these different modules, where some give you the customizability of the different destinations you want to go to, while others are a little bit more fixed. So these include the guided exploration, language and culture, service and sustainability, as well as the business and internships. So really quickly about the guided exploration, this is really great for the person who just loves being immersed in a wide range of cultures, just absorbing as much as they possibly can. Language and culture, pretty self-evident. It's great for the student who is really passionate about immersing themselves through language. And it's actually the program that I did. We also have the service and sustainability module, and this is really great for those students who are looking to make real world impacts on different international communities. And lastly, we also have the business and internships, and this is really great for students who are more on the independent side, looking to gain some professional international business experience. So really quickly, all of the programs, regardless of which EF GAP program you choose, they all travel within cohorts. So you have groups of around 30 students, give or take. On top of this, every student is paired with a dedicated EF Gap Year advisor. This advisor acts almost as a one-on-one mentor, an emergency contact, someone who is in contact with you from the moment you enroll on a program all the way through the program and until you return back home. On the ground during the program, on top of the cohort you'll be traveling with, is also an EF tour director who has that local expert knowledge, who's able to be with you on the ground throughout the entirety of the program. And some of our programs also have a student life coordinator. And I like to compare the student life coordinator almost to the role a college RA would play in a dorm room. So now I'll talk through a little bit more of our programs in some detail. But before I do that, I want to actually get into what's included on all of our programs. And this is the same depending on the gap year, semester, or the short-term program. So all of those international round trip flights are included, as well as all of the on-the-ground transportation, either by bus or by train or by boat. All of your accommodations in hotels or hostels or homestays, your 24/7 EF global support on top of that mentorship, many of your on-program meals, as well as all of the activities and excursions on program. So now I'll jump into the first program option, which, like I said, are our 4-week-long short-term programs. So these, again, happen in various countries and at different times throughout the year and are really great to kind of fit into your calendar without having to take time off of school. So here are the 3 options. The first is the European Discovery Program, and this takes you through 4 major European countries, just giving you a very immersive experience across a bunch of different cities, subjects, and places. And this is that guided exploration module that I was talking to you about. We also have that Sustainable Development Program in Costa Rica, and this gives you a chance to really work hands-on with various local nonprofits. And this is that Service and Sustainability module that I was referencing earlier. And if you're looking for more of a educational component and more of an academic focus, we also have the Global Business Program in London. And so this is great because you can go to London and study the basics of business by various professionals across many different industries at our International Business School, Hult. So we also have these semester programs, again, 10 weeks with our upcoming departure date being this fall in September. We also have semester programs departing in January as well. And so we see a lot of students who maybe are deferring from college, or they're graduating early, or also maybe they are spring admits, or simply they just want to take a break before, during, or after their college experience. So these are actually some of our most popular programs, and we have 5 really great ones that I'll talk to you in just a second about. So these are the 5 offerings that we currently have, and they all give you the opportunity to explore and immerse yourself in different parts of the world. So these 5 programs all mix and match the different modules that I was referring to earlier, with varying levels of independence and structure. But for the sake of time, I won't go through each one of those in specific detail. We actually have an info session every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern that kind of goes into the nitty-gritty of what these programs are like. Or if you also are interested in learning more, you can go on our website, or you can speak with one of our gap year consultants. And if they aren't in touch with you already, they definitely will be after this webinar. And lastly, it's the gap year program, 25 weeks. And this is a great program that allows you to combine all of those 4 themes or modules that I was referring to, with that travel, the language immersion, the service work, and the internships. And again, you do this all alongside your cohort. On top of this, every gap program, whether it's a semester, a short term, or the gap year, you're eligible to earn college credit as well. That's something you can opt into or opt out of if you are not interested. So I know I ran through those pretty quickly, but I hope you all are feeling pretty inspired and energized by all of the different possibilities. I also wanted to include the pricing breakdown for these programs for the short-term semester and year. We have many ways to handle these finances, from payment plans to scholarships to different ways to fundraise, just lots of ways to really make this dream a reality. And so again, your gap year consultant, whether or not you've been in contact with them, they'll reach out to you after this webinar and kind of give you more detail into anything that I have mentioned already. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our alumni, Kate, Foster, and Lilly. They are 3 fantastic alumni, and I'm super excited for you all to be here. Kate, I want to start with you, and then maybe we'll go down the line. Can you just give a quick introduction of who you are, where you're joining us from today, and a little rundown of your program?
Yes. Hi. So I'm Kate. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and that's where I'm joining from today. I went on the 2021 to 22 gap year program for the full year. I did the guided exploration in Europe. This was right during COVID, so we had all of the monuments to ourselves. And then I did my language and culture in Malaga, my service and sustainability in Costa Rica, and then guided exploration in Ecuador and the Galapagos, which usually it's Australia, New Zealand. But COVID happened and I wouldn't change it for the world. And then I did my internship in Dublin.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate. Foster, I'll turn it to you. Just a little, again, quick introduction of who you are, where you're joining us today, and a little rundown of the program you chose.
Absolutely. So hi everyone. Thank you for joining us on here. But I'm coming from Easton, Pennsylvania. I don't know if anyone's in the PA area. But I did my gap semester back in the spring of 2020. So it was the COVID year, right before COVID happened. So I started off with it was a 2-week guided exploration in Europe, hitting kind of a lot of the major cities, major monuments. And then I decided to study language and culture in Berlin, Germany, and then finished off in Thailand, working with elephants and doing service and sustainability work.
Awesome. Thank you, Foster. Lilly, turn it over to you. Same thing. Intro of who you are, where you're joining us today, and a little rundown of your program.
Hi, everybody. My name's Lilly. I'm also originally from Portland, Oregon, but currently living in Honolulu, Hawaii. And last summer, I did the Sustainable Development Program short term in Costa Rica. And we worked with 5 different nonprofits, all dedicated to environmentalism and sustainability. And it was a great time. Couldn't recommend it more.
Awesome. Thank you all. All right. So what I want to get into a little bit, Lilly, now that you're here with us, is you have shared with us 3 different photos, and I would like to just get a little bit context on the photos you chose and why those were meaningful to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first photo is actually with a friend that I met on the program, and we became really quick, fast friends. And this was a great day for us specifically. We were in La Isla and we were planting mangroves that entire day. So we were down and dirty, but we were really making it happen, and we just had a great day. And then the middle photo I'll get to a little bit later. Sorry, one of my neighbors is screaming. The middle photo I'll get to a little bit later, but I just wanted you all to see it in person. This is a glasswing butterfly, and I had no idea that this was a real creature until I saw it in person. I just thought it was beautiful and wanted to share. And then the last picture is of us ziplining, which was out just right outside of La Fortuna. And it was a crazy experience for me because I am really afraid of heights. And so climbing up to the top of that podium or whatever it was, I was just losing my mind. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And then I did it. And by the 7th line, I was flipping upside down. And it was awesome. So I really loved that experience and just wanted to share a photo of us real life ziplining.
That's awesome. All these photos are incredible, especially that middle glass wing butterfly. I mean, it looks like something that you would buy kind of in a souvenir shop. So again, it looks at least pretty sick. Awesome. Thank you for those. Foster, bringing it on to you now. Can you kind of share with me the photos you chose and why they were meaningful for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So to start, unfortunately, I was a little limited in the photo department. I went swimming with my phone that had all the photos and ended up losing a ton, which was pretty tragic. But so the photo on the left, that's me feeding an elephant in Thailand. So as part of the service and sustainability module, we worked at an elephant sanctuary, essentially helping to rehabilitate elephants that had been either in circuses or abused in some way or another. So this was really a sanctuary where they could be trained a little bit better and rehabilitated and really brought back into what their lives should have been. So it was just really impactful in that we got to see the connection the elephants had with the trainers, and we even got to work with them a little bit ourselves in a hands-on way, which was really, really incredible. And then so the picture on the right, this is also in Thailand. That truck behind us is filled to the brim with pineapple stems, which we would end up feeding the elephants. And so this was a really awesome day because we spent the entire day filling up. It was the 5 of us in the picture, and we filled up that entire truck with food for the elephants. So we could really see in a tangible way the impact we were having. And it was just really fulfilling to be able to see how we were involved in the process of actually rehabilitating these elephants.
Wow, those photos are both incredible, and great props to you on filling up that entire truck. That's pretty cool. Alrighty, Kate, bring it on to you. Tell us about the photos you chose and why they were meaningful for you.
Hi. So the photo on the left is that was in Costa Rica. We had just finished off a pretty physically intense volunteer project. And so we had a few days off, and me and my psycho friends decided to just pack it with as many things as possible and be as busy as if it weren't a day off. So we did sunrise yoga and a surf lesson, and then we absolutely ran to like our like little horseback ride, and then it started pouring down rain. And the horses had rain jackets on, but we didn't. So we were sopping wet. And then we got to this waterfall, and the guide asked us if we wanted to get in. And I was like, absolutely, I want to get in. I'm already absolutely soaked in water. And so, yeah, but I chose this one because it kind of, you can see how like just kind of peaceful I felt. And living so presently like that really connects you to this internal stillness. And so that's a big thing that I got out of the trip, was just something like that I could return to in moments of chaos. And then the other 2 pictures, you can see Jack's face is the one that's open wide and laughing sort of, but also upset with Kat because she's tickling him in both. But these were some guys that I got really close to really quickly in my language module. And then the photo all the way on the right is actually an Ashridge at the Leadership Academy at the very end. So yeah, those guys are just, I mean, they all kind of taught me something, and we're all really different, but really similar in really important ways. And so, yeah, and I guess that's it.
Thank you. All right, so now I'm gonna attempt to stop sharing my screen, so it's just all of us right here. And what I wanted to do is kind of, I feel like we helped give the audience a visual picture of what your gaps looked like, and now I kind of want to help paint the complete story for them all. So I want you guys all right now to kind of go back in time and transport yourselves to the world when you were in kind of the decision-making process for taking your gap. Lilly, I'll start with you. When you were in that world, in that mindset before deciding on taking a gap, what kind of made you decide that you wanted to take a gap? Like, what were the feelings that you were feeling, and why did you decide to go on one?
So I feel like my story specifically is pretty unique because I actually had planned on going on a completely different internship through study abroad through my college. And then that trip was canceled and I kind of was like, what am I going to do now? And so I found EF Gap and wanted to find a program that would be, that would align with what my studies were, which were political science and peace and conflict resolution. So I really was interested in sustainability and climate justice. And then I came across this 4-week program in Costa Rica that was specifically focused on sustainability and service learning. And I just thought, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need. And so I was able to actually talk to one of my advisors and get credit for the trip through my school as well. And it was really awesome to find something that really aligned with my interests and what I wanted to do. And I feel like I really got a lot out of it because of that, and was really able to take the tangible skills that I learned in Costa Rica and apply them to my life in Hawaii.
That's awesome, Lily. Yeah, I think that's really cool to hear like what you wanted to get out of it, and having a program that kind of matched those goals. Lily, I want to bring Kate, I want to bring it back to you and ask you that same question. Before you were, deciding, or maybe while you were deciding on a gap, what was important to you? What made you decide that you wanted to do something like this?
So I sat down my junior year of high school in my high school library, and I had been thinking about it for a while. I was starting to apply for colleges and everything, and I just didn't really know if it was the right move to go straight there right out of COVID, because I graduated right at the end of kind of when Portland opened up. And I knew I wanted to travel. So I looked up gap year program on Google. It was the first one that came up. I read the entire website in one sitting, almost cried on the phone with my mom when I was like, I think I found this really cool thing. Like, I think it's perfect. And then I had a call and kind of did my own research and sort of signed up, and then told my parents kind of more about it. I had not said anything since the initial call. And they were wonderfully supportive. So I think it was just an internal knowing that it was the right thing to go take an adventure first.
For sure. And I think that's awesome. Props to whoever runs that Google search that put us up on that list. That's really great to hear. And it's also great to hear that your parents were supportive of that as well in your own journey, and understanding that they took the time to see the importance in that as well. Foster, I want to also ask you that question. Or while you were deciding on your gap, kind of what was important to you? What were you looking to get out of a gap program that EF fit, and where were you at?
Yeah, so I was in somewhat of a similar position as Kate. I've always been interested in travel. And then so I came to my senior year of high school. I felt a little stagnant maybe. I wanted to do something hands-on, kind of get outside the four walls of a traditional classroom, per se. And so I grew up in a pretty rural area, small high school, small town. I really wanted to really push myself more and kind of challenge myself to get out of my comfort zone, gain a little more independence, kind of expand my global perspective outside of the small town New Hampshire that I'm from. So that really is what pushed me into wanting to do an EF gap year.
Awesome, for sure. And a kind of follow-up question I want to ask you: when you decided on taking a gap program, kind of moving along the timeline of, okay, you decided on a gap, it made sense for you. When you first arrived on program, you said that you come from kind of a rural town. What was it like, that immediate kind of on program feeling? Did it take some time for you to get in the groove of everything, or what was that like for you?
Yeah, I think the immediate emotion was definitely nervousness. And I'm sure if a lot of you guys end up doing this, some of you will be nervous, and that's probably a good thing. I was nervous if I was gonna really make friends, gonna make the most of this experience. But once you get on the ground, it's really you're in it. And I found that I was able to get in the groove really quickly. I was doing so many different activities with so many different people. And so you really form strong connections quicker than you think. And that was really, really important to me, because that was something I was a little apprehensive about going into it.
For sure. And Lily and Kate, I saw your heads nodding emphatically. I want to bring it to you, Lily, in terms of moving along the timeline, like I said, and arriving to the program, you knew you'd want to do something like this. What was that immediate feeling like for you? Did you meet your people quickly, or what was that transition like?
I was definitely nervous, especially because I was one of the older people on the program because I was going into my senior year of college. So I was definitely nervous that it would be hard for me to make friends, or I would, like revert to being awkward or something like that. And that's just like not what happened at all. I think one of the best things about these trips is that everybody that goes on them for a reason. And so I think the fact that everybody has those shared feelings and kind of similar experiences going on program, it just makes everybody more comfortable and want to learn more about each other. And I feel like that is what I noticed the most, is that even though I was feeling that way, everybody else was feeling that way too. So it was really nice to just kind of connect with people that way. And I would say, yeah, in the first like 2 days, I met probably one of my best friends for life. So yeah,
I love to hear that. And I can definitely agree with that personally as well. I remember thinking that the first couple of days would almost feel like how the beginning couple of days are for like a college orientation, where some people have their cliques already, some people know each other, some people don't, and it feels awkward and kind of difficult to get in the swing of things. But like you said, everyone kind of has a like-minded mindset with taking any one of these gap programs, which really I think helps that bond formation process a little bit. Kate, can you speak to that a little bit? Kind of the immediate, you were on a full gap year program, you're in it for the long haul. What was that like for you, that very beginning part?
The very beginning was kind of everyone sort of kind of like The Bachelor on the first night, like everyone was going around to everyone, kind of like trying to figure out, because there was a lot of people. We had 90 people that were split up into 3 different cohorts. But we were all traveling together for the first 2 weeks. And so you kind of had to try and focus your friends in the group that you were in, because you knew you'd be with them more often. And so I really didn't get close with my friends that I would be close with the rest of the time until my language module. And then those guys that I showed in the pictures, actually, we all kind of got together the first few days, and like we were going out to dinner and doing everything kind of together. And so many things just kept happening, and we kept doing things, and it just eventually, like in the first few days of that module, they felt like family, and they become your support system. And yeah, you're so busy that the homesickness like fades away, and you have this new sense of community that's all around you doing all of these things, which makes it so easy to get out of your comfort zone because you have people around you making you comfortable. So yeah.
Totally. And I think advice I always give people is like knowing what your comfort zone is and knowing what your support systems are before your gap just allows for a better involvement during your gap, so that you know who to reach out to when you're feeling a certain way, and so forth. But now so that's kind of the beginning part. Let's move a little bit into like the middle of our program, where there were probably highs and lows and homesickness maybe creeping in or maybe not. Kate, maybe I'll stick with you on that in terms of you're in your language module, you're meeting some friends, and kind of that middle part. Was it, was there a moment where things felt like it finally clicked, or what was that like, that middle process?
I think there was this corner in between my friend and one of my best friend's cats, her place. And so we would go everywhere together, and we went everywhere from there. And it was easy to fade into this like mindset of just go, 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 and experience everything as like hard as possible. And just when you're in that, it's just so easy to not forget, but be distracted from what you're missing back home. And I have 2 little brothers that I had to leave behind for the first time, and so that was really hard initially. But you have to like start reminding yourself to actually keep in contact with your family, because you're just like you're living a whole life, and then you move and you create a whole nother life for yourself in another country. And yeah, and everything's was just great, and you can go back to it too. Like I definitely want to return to those lives that I feel like I started there. So yeah.
For sure. I think that's definitely a great way to see it as well. And I love that mindset. I think it's super important for all of us, no matter what new piece of our life kind of comes along, but to enter it with with grace and with some patience. And Lily, something I want to ask you, you had mentioned you had met one of your friends for life. How quickly did you meet her? Like, tell me kind of the story of meeting her and connecting with not only her, but other people in your group and what that all was like.
Yeah, so I think it was honestly really nice, my cohort specifically, because everybody was from a different state. So it was a group of people that we would have never like organically or naturally met if we hadn't been put on this trip together. And so with that friend specifically, I met her the second night. We started to just have some conversations, and we just kind of sat in the hotel at on the ground level, just having a chat in a few of the chairs down there. And we ended up talking for like 4.5 hours. And I would say that was like the quickest I've ever bonded with somebody in my entire life. We had so much in common and so many like similar experiences growing up. And I think that that was one of the best things to come out of this trip for me specifically, was her and the friendship that I made with her along the way. And then as far as everybody else in my group, I think it was really nice because there was only 12 of us on the short-term program. So it was kind of impossible for us all not to get close. And I think that made a really big difference. And so I think it was nice that we all had different, backgrounds and growing up and all that stuff. And we're able to kind of come together and just share what we had experienced. And I still talk to them now, year later. So
I love that. Yeah. And I think it's so great that even I think just amongst us four, we did all four very different programs, but there's something that is very similar that we all kind of can agree on and recognize about just kind of what EF-GAP stands for. And Foster, now I want to ask you, like bringing it back to kind of the initial struggles that you thought maybe you would experience on program. What was it like in that middle piece where you said you come from a rural environment and now you're kind of thrown into these different cities? Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, there were definitely some challenges associated with that, especially for me personally, really not having much experience navigating necessarily a big city. So the first 2 weeks, it was guided exploration in Europe. And so this was with a really tight-knit cohort. So I think it was easier for me to kind of get the layout and understand how to use different modes of transit in different countries. But then where some challenges really came up for me personally was during my language module in Germany. So I was a beginner in German. I took French in high school, and I wanted to mix it up a little and try to learn a new language that would allow me to have a better global perspective. So I was in Berlin living with a host, and he didn't really speak much English. I didn't speak German, and I had two roommates, one from South Korea and one from Brazil, who were in a similar situation to me in that we really didn't share a common language. So the first few days, there was definitely a challenge in that we had to find alternative ways to communicate, and a lot of it was body language or Google Translate. But it definitely clicked within that first week. And we ended up having some really funny and really, really awesome conversations through different means, but over dinner or after class. So it really clicked in that way. And we were able to get around the language barrier and form some really strong friendships to the point where we were going movies together, we'd go out to eat together, things like that. So it was really special to have that moment where it did click.
Yeah, and I think maybe you can resonate with this. I remember similarly when I was with my host family in Rome. I actually had studied Italian for 3 years, and I thought I was going to go into it being like a pro. And so I walked in and met my host family, and after the first maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 sentences, I realized that I had exhausted all of the Italian that I had studied for 3 years, because it was only that basic greeting or that basic introduction, those basic conjugations that you really learn in high school. So having that immersive experience, having to work your brain in maybe a way that you haven't worked before, I think that was definitely a learning moment. And I bet you can probably agree to the pieces like that.
Yeah, definitely. And it even makes it that much more fulfilling when you complete the module and you can see, wow, I've improved a lot, and I've been able to form new connections because of this language that I've started learning. So it's really awesome to see.
Definitely. No, I love that. Um, Lily, actually, I want to ask you a question. You knew you wanted to do this service program, and you knew the goals you kind of wanted to get out of it. Was there anything that you learned? I guess maybe we're kind of moving down the timeline now towards the end. Was there anything that you learned that you maybe didn't expect to learn about yourself, or any takeaways that kind of stood out to you that you wouldn't have expected to learn?
I feel like the thing that I took with me the most from that trip is that I feel like I'm way more adept at dealing with conflict now than I used to be. And also not all, conflict is necessarily bad. So I feel like having those experiences on the trip last year really put me in the position where I know how to handle situations a little bit better than I did a year ago. And I feel like that really has helped me. And it wasn't something I expected to learn. I did learn lots of things that I did expect, which were tons of things focused on sustainability and climate justice. And I'm so grateful for that because I really am able to use those skills and also just new learnings and put it towards my future career.
Totally. I love what you said about not all conflict is bad conflict, because it teaches you again how to work kind of in a different way and be adaptable. And I think, Kate, I think you would find, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on having a very, immersive and dynamic gap where you're doing a lot of different, you're going to a lot of different places, meeting different people, doing different things. And nearing the end of your program, like, what was it like kind of trying to unpack all of that at once? I bet you're still kind of learning about the ways you've been impacted by that.
Yeah, a lot of it has been self-reflection actually since the trip, and kind of reflecting on the before, during, and after of different habits or ways that I kind of thought about things. And what I started noticing was like, you drop me anywhere in the world in any situation and I will figure it out, because I know that if I am totally lost, I can figure it out. So it gives you so much confidence in your capability and in being adaptable, and kind of taking this, being able to put yourself on a path that's going in the direction that you want it to. And also just being with strangers all the time, and going to even the people on my program that I maybe didn't know until we got to the internship module in February. We again got so close right away, but just being there with no expectations. No one there has any idea any of the mistakes you've ever made. We've all made mistakes. We're all going to talk about them on the trip. And you just can respond to things in a completely authentic way from no previous expectations. And it's wonderful. It teaches you so much about yourself and sort of how you want to go about the world and treating people and just everything. So yeah, it changed everything for me.
Totally. And I love what you said about, making the decision to go in the direction that you want to go. I think taking a gap, and all of you guys, have done this, having the confidence in yourself to believe that you can do this, to know that I want to do something for my own accord and that will benefit me in a tangible way. Maybe I know it or maybe I don't. But you're, bold enough and brave enough to take that leap into something that could be kind of unknown. And I think we actually speak to a lot of different college advisors who say that's actually something that a lot of applications make them stand out. Seeing students who take a gap and have the confidence to do something for themselves and move in a direction, like you said, that they want to go in, is really powerful, and I think can extend across your entire life. And that's really great to hear. And so I want to bring it back now. So we kind of walked through you guys through that timeline of the pre-departure kind of phase, that planning process, the beginning, the middle, and now we're at the end. I want to know, and maybe Foster, I'll ask you this. Like, what have you been up to after your GAP program? I want to ask you that because I know for me, starting college after doing a GAP was super interesting, because I had all these experiences that I wanted to share with so many people, all of my, my fellow freshmen, that maybe they didn't want to hear that story, and maybe it came across as that typical, someone studies abroad because they mentioned they study abroad. So I want to bring that question to you of like coming back and having all these experiences that you want to share with everyone. Like, what was that like?
Yeah, that was awesome. And actually, this is a question I'd love to talk about because I think going into or out of high school, I was very undecided on what I wanted to study and what I necessarily wanted to do. And then following my gap year, I went into college undecided. But through these global perspectives that I really gained through my gap year, I had my eyes on doing an international affairs major, which is what I ended up doing. So now I'm taking classes with a lot of internationally minded students with a ton of perspectives from all over the world. And so I can really use my experience in my gap year, in my college classes, and in my major, and hopefully down the line in a potential career working internationally. But I think it even set me forward because I had been to some of the countries that we were studying and that we were learning about, and I could see firsthand the stuff that we're talking about in class. So even in that way, I think it even put me a little forward from what I would have been otherwise, which was awesome.
What a great answer. And I think it's really cool to see how you take a gap and people might have their own misconceptions of what a gap means. And I think a lot of times, like you said, it can propel you forward. It can boost you a little bit because you have those really unique experiences that I would say 99% of other, college students across the United States wouldn't have had. And Lily, I think for you, this is also super applicable because are now studying something or have studied something that was super relevant to what you had done. Can you speak a little bit more about kind of the tangibles that you were referring to before and what that meant for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went into my gap year in the summer of right after the summer of my junior year of college. So I was already a decided major. I only had a year left. And I knew that I wanted to do something related to service and sustainability. And so I think one of the biggest things on the Costa Rica program specifically that really drove me to pursue my peace and conflict certificate was the wrap up at the United Nations University for Peace in San Jose. And that actually led me to another internship during my senior year where I worked with the United Nations Association on worldly issues and just educating the public on service learning, sustainability, climate justice, all that good stuff, human rights, you name it. And so I really was able to take what I learned from Costa Rica and apply it not only into my peace and conflict certificate, but also into my United Nations Association internship. And then aside from that, when I was actually on the trip, I don't want to spoil it for anybody that's going to go. So I won't say really specific, but because I was getting credit through my school, I actually was able to do weekly journal entries about what was going on. And then for my capstone project, I wrote a huge paper about all of the climate justice issues that are affecting Costa Rica, how we can use those tangible skills and policies and all that and apply it back to the US. So I would say it was super helpful for me. And really kind of made it easier for me to know what I was going to do into my senior year. And now I'm graduated and I'm interning with EF. So even more so, I'm back.
I love that. I love that full circle moment. And I can completely resonate with kind of that journey and how that influences you. I think what's interesting, and Kate, I want you to expand on this some more as well. But for me, I actually went into my gap before taking my gap, thinking that I had known the major I wanted to study in college, and took my gap, and then realized that it's actually nothing that I want to study. And I ended up studying something so completely different than what I had ever anticipated for myself. But again, like I said, having the confidence to do something for yourself and allows you to know yourself a little bit more, I would say. And so, Kate, how I want to direct this to you is, again, you did such a dynamic, immersive program. Coming back to the real world after that, that transition back to your friends and families who maybe weren't so well traveled as you. What was that like?
A lot of it was hard not to feel like I was going backwards, and to remind myself that like my future wasn't ahead of me. I was just home for the summer. But it felt like it felt not like coming back to real life, but going back to sort of fake life. It kind of felt like returning to my childhood because I felt like such an adult. I mean, my dad looked at me and was like, Kate, you've aged a decade. Like, I don't even know what to do with you anymore. And so, yeah, I mean, the internship taught me, you know, how to be in a corporate space and like make friends with my coworker. I genuinely don't remember her name. She looked so much like Phyllis from The Office with an Irish accent, who was wonderful. And being in Costa Rica and feeling like my tour director there is now my uncle. I'm trying to get my family there this winter to like go visit him and everything like that. And just, yeah, the diversity of experience was insane. And by the time we were in Ashridge for the Leadership Academy at the end, we were all just kind of looking around at each other, like kind of remembering Boston and the orientation at the beginning and being like, wow, like it was just so a little overwhelming, honestly, just to see yourself out from outside of yourself and be like so proud. So
Yeah, it's great to hear. And I think also it might be funny because at the end of the program, you probably are meeting new people again in the sense where you guys are also transformed from how much you guys have developed over this year. And Kate, I love what you said about what the real life felt like, because I definitely resonate with it almost being like I'm back in my childhood bedroom, and you feel like you have you have earned so much confidence in yourself that I love the way you worded it. And I'd be curious if Lilly and Foster, you guys feel the same way in terms of what it was like kind of trying to be amongst, people that you already knew beforehand.
Yeah, definitely. I can hop on here. I think Kate set the bar pretty high with what she said there. But I definitely agree. It's I came back with a totally new sense of confidence, a sense of independence. And I think my parents could see it right away. And a lot of my friends that I talked with, they're like, wow, this really seemed like such a positive impact. And you really seem changed from it. And I think that really resonates because you just come back with such a wide array of experiences, and it's really hard not to gain confidence and a sense of adaptability from that. So I felt like I was ready to take on the world, if you will.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the way you say it also, because how I see it for myself in a sense where I actually always thought of myself to be a pretty confident dude, even before my gap, meaning that I wasn't looking for my gap to develop my confidence. But I realized that there is so much more confidence within myself that I had to explore, that this gap kind of brought out of me. Lily, I want to hear your piece. I think you were going to come off mute. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I totally agree with what Kate and Foster said, and you too, John, but I also think there's something to say about how this time in your life is so formative. And I think that really makes a difference, is because I feel like it would be different if you were doing this trip at 16 or 25 or, even later, whereas like this gives you an opportunity to really bond with people that are near your age, and gives you an opportunity to meet people that, yeah, you would have never naturally met. And so I really feel like that makes such a difference. And I do think that that's one of the main reasons that people change so much when they go on these trips, is because it's so formative that it's like you're building your future self when you're on these trips. And I really think that that's something that a lot of people can't otherwise do.
For sure. Awesome. Guys, incredible, all of that. I want to ask you all, because obviously you guys are now here back with us after your GAP program has ended as interns, and you're interning for us this summer. I want to ask all of you, and maybe Lily, I'll have you start and we can go down the line there. What made you want to come back to us and intern?
Well, I actually tried to intern last summer and tried to convince everybody that I could do it during my Costa Rica program, which was not going to work. But I was sent this opportunity from my gap year advisor that I had been in contact with last summer, and I just saw it and thought it would be perfect. I'm really was interested in like learning about how the company works from a behind the scenes standpoint, and just kind of see what you guys do day to day to make all of these wonderful adventures happen for so many young people. And I've been really enjoying myself so far.
Awesome. Foster, I'll let you kind of take it away as well in terms of what made you want to intern and be back in this gap space, kind of helping other students now.
Yeah, definitely. So I saw this email pop up in my inbox, and I was like, immediately, this is a no-brainer for me. If you guys don't know by now, I really like to travel, and I like to immerse myself in different cultures. But aside from that, I've worked as a camp counselor a lot, so I really enjoy working with other students. And what really stood out to me was the possibility of being able to help give kids a similar experience that I had during my EF gap year, because it was really so positive, that I want to try to help give that to as many other students as possible. And I also really enjoy the prospect of working internationally. And EF is a huge, really reputable international organization with a super positive atmosphere. So it definitely stood out to me as a place that I could see myself working and thriving.
Amazing, Foster. Kate, I'll bring it back to you to speak more about why you want to come back and kind of help continue in sharing that what you learned on your gap to other students.
Yeah, similar to Foster, I mean, I'm majoring in natural resource tourism, Spanish and business administration, which is, it sounds like a lot, but I'm figuring it out. But yeah, I mean, this is the space that I went into the gap year wanting to kind of figure out not just myself, the world, my place in it, but also what I wanted to do with my life, the direction that I wanted to take. And so what I found was just that I wanted to do that forever. And I wanted to, like Foster said, give that to as many people as I possibly could, because it's just so both impactful and empowering to impact the world and other people at every chance you get, you know, after and during. So yeah, just being a part of something that feels so purposeful and meaningful. So yeah, and also just, I love you guys. EF is fantastic. Everyone just wants the best for everybody, and especially the students, and it's wonderful. So yeah.
And we love you all, interns. I want to, we have a couple minutes left, and I want to leave everyone here with some advice. I want you all to kind of, do you guys have any tips for our students and families here who are thinking about taking that gap program? Anything that you want to tell them? Kate, I'll let you start.
Don't question that feeling that's telling you to go. I know that sounds like I'm just saying the obvious thing, but it's genuinely, when it's coming from a place of just like deep wonder and excitement and or even uncertainty, and just if you're nervous about college or you think that you would do better with it if you contextualized what you were learning first, which I know I definitely have. And if you don't want to go to college, then you're going to go into trade school or whatever you do next with a much larger frame of reference for kind of the experiences that you can speak from and about, and your understanding of people. And so, yeah.
I love that, Kate. Foster, take it away for us. What are some tips that you would give to anyone here right now?
Definitely. So maybe this is more general advice, not necessarily a tip, but I'm going to say, put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to be a little uncomfortable, and don't be afraid to get outside your comfort zone, because that's where a lot of the really meaningful experiences occur. Just try to take advantage of all the opportunities that's offered to you. And so I'm just going to make a challenge to everyone going on the gap year. Really get out of your comfort zone. I think that I can't state that enough, how transformative that can be and how important that can be.
Foster, I love that, man. Lily, I'll let you close it off for us. What do you want the people to know?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to repeat something that Foster said in our meeting the other day, because it's kind of what I think he was alluding to, is like, if you're not uncomfortable, you're doing something wrong. So like, make sure that you're kind of pushing yourself to like have those experiences that you wouldn't ordinarily have. I mean, I can speak to that, especially like I would have never in my life chose to go on zip lining or whitewater rafting, and I did both of those things, and they were so fun, and I would totally do them again, and I'm so glad that I did that. So yeah, I would just say, just to reiterate, make sure that you're going out of your comfort zone, make sure that you're putting yourself out there and doing your best to meet new people. And like, even if you do find a couple friends that you're like, these are my people, this is awesome, like, make sure that you're still trying to make friends with other people on your cohort and in your group, because that will just make your entire experience so much better, and just really make you feel a lot closer to the people that you're with. And also, don't be afraid to like ask your tour director any questions, because they are more than willing and happy to help you.
For sure. I think the tour directors are such a core component of the spirit of each program. And we all can remember our tour directors and their little quirks and oddities and what we loved about them. And I think that's like all super special. But again, Lilly, Kate, Foster, thank you guys so much for your time here this evening, tonight. And I think you guys all said such wonderful pieces and gave such wonderful stories that I think a lot of people can resonate with. And I'm super grateful again that you guys could take the time to share that with us today. But I'd like to dismiss everyone, and I was so happy again that we could share this time together, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you guys soon.
Bye, everybody. Nice to meet you.
You can sign up to talk to us further if you want one-on-one. So we would love to do that. Just going to
Yes.
plug that right there real quick.
Yes. Please reach out to us.
Yes, we're on the website.
Yeah.
Yes, they're definitely available. Check with the website. And again, I want to let everyone else know that your EF Gap Year consultant, if they haven't connected with you already, they will connect with you after this webinar tomorrow. And so stay tuned for some updates from them and to get started on what next steps could look like. Thank you guys. Hope you all have a good night.